Hello, darlings. I am Cassandra. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming. In today's episode of Magickal Musings, where I believe God, love, and magic is one word, you can't help who you love and who love you. You can't control how your magic manifests, and God is an unimaginable power that brings about, I believe, the highest good of all, even when we can't see it that way. So in my magical musings episodes, I like to bring together like some thoughts that I have about magic, right? And in this episode, we're going to talk about when your magic becomes a distraction. Now, but first, let's talk about this. It's the same topic, but in a different way. Have you ever, let's say you needed to study for an exam, right? And you decide, okay, before I can study for my exam, I need to go and get the perfect pen. And, so you look all day for the perfect pen. And then you also say, well, I have to have like tea and all of my snacks, and I need to, get flashcards, of course, right? And then you spend all day shopping for all of the things you need to prepare to study. And then, of course, you have to prep your notes and your flashcards, right? I mean, you can't study without your flashcards. And before you know it, the exam is tomorrow, by the way. You only have about 2 hours to actually study for the exam. Now you've put all this work into prepping, buying the perfect pens, the perfect notes. Matter of fact, another thing you did was you probably cleaned up, right? You probably cleaned your office space or your study space. You cleaned the house. You did laundry. I mean, you probably found a lot of projects that needed to be done so that when you study, because you're telling yourself, so when I study, I can pour my energy into really understanding the content. Now, after, again, like I said, so you've done all of this. You've cleaned, you've done laundry, you've shopped, you've made the most beautiful notes with different color pens and pencils. They're beautiful. The flashcards are gorgeous. And so now you have about 2 hours to study, and you're thinking, okay, well, I have to get some sleep. I am only going to have about 3 hours of sleep. I'm going to split my 5 hours. So you study for about 2 hours, and you feel like, I could have used some more time to study, but I studied, and I performed my ritual. I did some work with my ancestors, and I told them, hey, hello, I need to get an A on this exam. Otherwise, they're not going to let me into the nursing program. So, you've set your altar up. You made a candle to help you study. You've done a ritual, how to pass an exam. And I think, which book is that? I don't know if it's in Greater Words of Power. I think it's in Greater Words of Power by David Brand. You've done everything. And guess what? You take your exam the next day, exhausted, and you get a D. And you just do not understand how in the world could you possibly receive a D on an exam that you properly prepped for, you performed your magic ritual for, and you don't understand, like, what is this, God? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, did I use the wrong ritual? Did I buy the wrong book? Did I use the wrong color pen? You know what? What happened is you spent way more time preparing to study than actually studying. Now, I'm using this example because I think a lot of times when people use magic, they put way more energy into the rituals, the candles, the whatever magic, process or magic tools they're using, magic books they're using. You put all this work into the magic, but if you really looked at it, you put very little time into the effort that was required to write that book, start that business, send out those resumes, study for that exam. You haven't done your part. And even though you're asking for whatever it is that you're doing your magic for, I don't know. I think that you think, well, since I'm doing my magic, the magic is going to do 90% of the work, and maybe I'll just do 10. I'll do 10% of the work. They have these supernatural powers, so therefore I don't have to put as much work into bringing about my desire. There's this saying I heard once that says something along the lines of, you should pray as if God exists, but work as if he doesn't. I really believe that. I believe that applies to magic. You should do your magic, but you should forget about it and pretend that it doesn't exist and get busy. So I think that your magic becomes a distraction when, I bet this is really loud with this microphone. I forgot. The slightest movement is like super loud. So let me calm this down. So I think one way or one example of your magic becoming a distraction is when you are not realizing that you're spending more time performing your magic than performing the task, the physical task necessary to create, build your particular goal or dream. I think, one of the things I like to do, and I just want to tell you, is when I perform magic, I like to have things in my mind that I plan to do. And the way I like to look at it is to give the angels something to work with. I always say, well, I want to give them I'm going to give them logs in the fire. Like, I feel like it's one thing for me to do my ritual, but it's another thing for me to send out 10 resumes. It's another thing for me to really sit down and say, okay, I'm going to make this. I'm going to do this. Because now I feel like, what are they working with? Like, what if I don't feed them my own efforts? I look at it as a what do you call it? A team effort. I don't look at it like, okay, I've just sent the angels out to take care of everything, so I'm just gonna enjoy my life and hopefully everything I want will come to fruition. No, I have in my mind, here are some things I'm going to do after I perform my ritual. And I also think that when you have some ideas, let's just say for me, I love to make dolls. I like to make my animated doll series. So one of the things I like to do is I like to grade right after I do a ritual. I already have in my mind some practical action that I want to take to distract myself from thinking that the magic is going to do the work for me. So even when I do the ritual, I already know in my mind, okay, I'm going to go and make my first pattern. I'm going to write my first 2 paragraphs. Whatever it is, I tell myself after the ritual, here are the things I'm going to do, because I need to, in my mind, I don't know, I could be wrong for this, guys, but I always feel like I need some type of practical action to to give the universe, the angels, the spirits, some type of energy from me to fuel their efforts. And one of the things I always like to say is, I feel that magic works off of the fumes of elbow grease. So the more work that I actually put into what I'm doing, then I feel like I'm making it easy for them, right? Instead of them saying, well, if she would just send out one more resume, if she would just, write one more chapter, if she would just do this, we could help her. So that's one thing. So if you're spending more time on the rituals and thinking about what else, why your magic isn't working, and you haven't put as much effort into the creation of your dream, your magic is becoming a distraction. Now, I want to tell you a little story. I have an Etsy shop, right? And it says, I'm on vacation. Let me tell you what happened. I love making like dolls and like magical intentional jewelry, and it's just so pretty. Like, here's one of my rings. I don't know if you can see. I'm not selling anything, guys, so my shop is closed. But anyway, I don't know if you can even make this out, but I don't know. I just feel like I could just eat this, right? So I'm making this jewelry, and it's this. I think that might be my Empress Goddess, and I love making the jewelry because it is so fun. And when I call it spirits, and I get those, chills all over me, and I feel like it's powered up. Oh, Jesus. And then when it turns out beautifully, I'm just like, I'm so in love with this, right? Now, when I first started making items for my Etsy shop, I just loved how they turned out. But it was for me. It was to help me. I would say, okay, I'm going to wear my Empress Goddess, ring with this, because when I go out, I want to, it give me this ooh la la appeal, right? And I started making it for me, but they were so cute. And then I said, I'll just make it for other people as well. And what happened is I found myself spending more time pouring my magic into other people's dreams and abandoning my own. So the magic tools that I was using for myself, for glamour magic mostly, I believe, and for other things as well, but the tools that I was using, I started creating them for other people. And the real dream that I was holding in my heart, I neglected it. I abandoned it. And so when orders were coming in, I started having, I'm just being real honest now, I started feeling frustrated because I was thinking, oh man, I have these orders and I haven't sewn a doll for me in a long time. And I just kind of felt like my own dreams were on hold. And you would think that the shop itself would be the dream, right? But it wasn't. It became a distraction from my dreams. I started feeling very frustrated, very, I remember one day I just had like a bunch of orders and I want to write like something personal to my clients, but it was so many orders that I just felt like I just need to get them out because I don't want them to be late. And then I didn't feel good about it. And then I was stressed out. I was stressed out. Not only was I stressed out because of the orders, but I was mostly stressed out because I had abandoned what was in my heart, what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to make dolls. I wanted to fabric beings. I wanted to create and I felt that I was giving my creativity away. So what happened is my magic had become a distraction. And the other thing I want to say about magic is that I think that magic, creating magic can be an art itself, right? So, but I don't know, look, I don't know how I feel about this. So I want to be really just, that's why I call these magical musings, because I'm talking to you from my heart, and I don't know how I'm going to feel 3 months from now. But I'm starting to feel like maybe when we create magic, that the best gift is for us to show other people how to do it, or have people perform their own magic. Because when we do magic for other people, it seems like it drains us from our own magical reservoir that creates and builds our own dreams. I don't know if that makes sense or not. And I think that you can find yourself pouring all of your, I don't want to use the word magical juices or ideas, but I think whenever we create something, we give it our soul energy, we give it our blueprint, we give it our power in a way. And when we make magical, I'm not saying people shouldn't do this, because especially if it's your calling, but I think sometimes something that we enjoy doing, let's just say you enjoy making candles, or you enjoy making oils, you enjoy, I enjoyed making jewelry, and I enjoyed it so much. But I think what happened is the tool became the project, and the real projects, the real dolls, the books, all of those things were being completely neglected because I was busy creating tools for other people. I don't know if that makes sense or not. But I think some people, I think sometimes there are certain careers where people, let's say if you write a book. When you write a book, once that book is published, every time somebody ordered that book, you're not required to go and tell the person what's in the book, right? It's like, I think people might call it passive income, but I think what happens is you've shared your soul, you've shared your wisdom, and now people can benefit from it. When you have like a metaphysical shop, when they order it, it's like the physical labor, kind of like a person who's a masseuse or a person who does nails or do hair. Sometimes when you are involved in the physical labor of something, I think, you know what? I don't know if you've heard this before. You know how people say that usually hairdressers, usually their own hair is not done. People who do other people's nails, their own nails are not done. There's just like this little saying, I think that my mom used to always say, that you'll notice that when people are really good at something or they have a craft, when you look at their own life, it's missing, right? And I think that's sometimes when magic becomes a distraction. And I think if you find that dream that you've always had in your heart to, draw, paint, write your play, put out an album, learn an instrument, whatever it is, whatever your goals and dreams are, and you're putting it on hold because you're so busy creating tools for other people to build their dreams, I think it's safe to say that your magic has become a distraction. Now, the other thing I want to say about this is that the thing that's so cool about magic is I think that it gives you a sense of productivity. When you perform a good ritual, right? Or you set up your altar, you make a candle, you feel like I was working. What are you talking about? I was busy. I did my fair share. I put all these things together to give the spiritual realm instructions on what it is that I want them to go out and do for me. I don't see that's a part of what I think the physical act sometimes is so, it takes so much effort that it creates a sense, I like to call it, of pseudo-productivity, because you feel you've been very productive because you bought the best herbs and you spent all day shopping and you bought the best gemstones and you pick them out individually, and you've put so much work into it, or you bought, you have your, let's just say you use the rituals from the Gallery of Magic, but you have this elaborate routine where you have to have the perfect incense and the perfect, everything has to be perfect, and it gets yourself in the mood, and you have this beautiful, maybe houseware and rings that you like to wear to set the mood before you call in the angels or whatever you're doing, right? By the time you finish setting up and getting everything perfect and performing your ritual, you feel like, I've done my part. I mean, what do you want me to do? Actually write the book? Yeah! You want me to actually make the thing? You want me to actually make a video? You're thinking I've done my part. Hello. So it gives you a sense of productivity because you feel like you're calling in help to perform a task for you that your actual real life effort seems almost meaningless. Another way that your magic can be a distraction, I think I've hit on this already, is that you don't have a practical plan with actions that you are going to take when you perform the ritual. So to me, this is just probably a little bit more detail, or maybe I've said it already, that when you perform the ritual, I mean, everybody, have their own way of doing things, but I feel like you should have a really good plan on, okay, I'm going to write 3 chapters. I am going to, of something that you're actually doing as if magic did not exist. And I think sometimes when I was guilty of this too, I think sometimes when we perform magic, we want to make the magic our dream, or we want to make doing magic for other people a part of our goal, make it a goal. And I do believe there are people who perform rituals and this is their gift and there's their talent. But you know what? I've been thinking about this. I bet you maybe 10%, and it could be more or less. I've just been thinking about this lately, that I bet there are few people who are really called upon. It is a part of their calling to perform magic. I think a lot of us, we perform magic for ourselves. We fall in love with the act of and the beauty of it, and then we decide we want to do it for other people, and we fall in love with the tool, and we lose sight of the real goal or dream that we were using the tool for, using the tool to build, if that makes sense. Now, another reason I think that your magic can, how it can become a distraction is, from my personal experience, I'm just talking about, I can only talk sincerely from my own personal experience, is that when I perform magic, one of the things I know is I get a hunch. Not all the time, but a lot of times I get a really good hunch about something to do. And I remember when I first started, I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm like, that sounds redunculous. I'm not gonna do that. Let me do another spell so I can get another answer or get another technique or get another idea, another, let me, like, this is, no, please, no. Like, no, thank you, God. That little, or spirit angels, whatever. I'm not doing that. And so instead of me performing the little hunch or the idea or this, how sometimes you just get this idea and you think, oh, that sounds dumb. And you think, I don't know. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do another spell because I want, no, thank you. See, your magic is becoming a distraction because this is what, let me tell you something. I have found that whenever I get an idea from God or the spiritual realm, my spiritual team, or when I perform a magic or ritual and some little quiet voice is saying, do this, I have found that when I do that, there is a piece of information that I need from performing that particular task that appears to be completely unrelated. And see, that's the thing about magic to me, is that sometimes when the ideas come to us, it appears to be completely unrelated to what we're asking. Like maybe it may say, call this person or make this or go to this store. I'm thinking like, why do I need to go to this store? I don't need any rubber bands. Like, what are you going to go over here for? You don't know how many times I have listened to that little quiet voice, that little nudge, and it'll say, go over here. And I'll find exactly what I'm looking for, or something better that I didn't even know existed. Guys, I can tell you I have found so many wonderful items that I use in making my dolls, so many techniques. The best things have been that little quiet voice that told me to go to this store, go down this aisle, go talk to this person, and I didn't understand why. Because it was unrelated, and it was the information it really helped me in the long run. So when you perform magic and you are receiving these little hints, nudges, it's a word that I'm drawing a blank on, but you know what I'm talking about, hunches, and you're thinking like, I would much rather perform another ritual because what's coming to me doesn't make sense. Your magic is becoming a distraction from the subtle, like, how do I want to say this? I want to say the subtle hints or a practical action you need to take. And so when you think of magic as this lofty supernatural power that's going to just come in and make things happen for you without you taking action yourself, doing little things that somehow that you're being guided to do, your magic is becoming a distraction at that point, because you feel that performing the magic is more important than following through on the action. Another way that I think your magic becomes a distraction is you don't realize when the magic has worked. Now, this is my favorite. Oh, You don't realize it. You don't even realize that you have everything you asked for. The angels came through like gangbusters, but you just can't see it. Do you know how many times? Oh God, how many times I see this? So I want to talk about, I start certain celebrities, but I'm not talking about them. But this is a perfect example. I'm not going to say names. I'm just going to say there's a celebrity who she was very jealous of her husband because he had never gone to Juilliard, this school for like this prestigious acting. And she said that, he was using substances, and it's just like he would come to work late, and she couldn't believe how far her husband's career had taken off, and she felt that she had gone to the best, like I said, the best acting schools. She had degrees, and she had performed on stage, and she felt that she was a prestigious actress. And she said for a while she was super, super jealous of her husband. Now, I know this is going to sound weird what I'm saying, or you might disagree, and that's okay. That's okay. So she had these big, lofty ideas about having this wonderful and magical life of just being, wealthy and famous and just, being this great actress, but it didn't happen for her, but it happened for her husband. I feel like God gave her everything she asked for, because from her appearance, she was never going to make that amount of money. I don't want to say never. Let me take that back. I hate the word never. When somebody tells me never, it makes me sick. I'll say this. There probably weren't as many roles available to her based on who she is in the acting business. She could get small parts here and there, but it would have never provided her the life that her husband provided for her. I'm going to talk about the Jacksons, the Jackson Fives, Michael Jackson and his father. Their father, Joe Jackson, was in a band, and he tried to make it, but he didn't make it. I could tell you so many stories of people who had these really big dreams that did not come to fruition for them, but they were able to develop the skills necessary in order to help their children be very successful in those fields. And their children would not have had the guidance, the relationships, the networking opportunities if the parents had not done everything that they had done to create the platform and foundation for their children. So what I'm saying is, the parents still received, they don't know this, or some people don't know this, they still received everything that they were asking for. Sometimes you're performing your magic because you say, okay, I remember, let me just say this. There have been times I have asked, God for, oh God, I need this, I need that. And one day God was just like, Cassandra, is there anything that you want to eat or do or have at this moment that you cannot provide for yourself? I'm like, no. Look, you say you want to finish this book, or you say you want to do this, or you say I have provided you with the opportunities to create all the things that you want to create. Like, think about it. And so when I thought about it, I thought, it's true. I have everything. I have been positioned to get everything I want, right? Sometimes what you do a ritual. And I remember there are people who talk about how when they would do like a spell for prosperity, and the money would go to their dad, would get a promotion, or somebody in their family who was very close to them and generous to them would give them, their money or share their money with them. You sometimes see you're continuing to perform your magic because you had an idea in your mind of how it was going to manifest in your life, what it was going to look like. You thought you were going to be the star, but your kids are the star. You thought you were going to be the star, but your husband is the star. You know, you performed all of this magic, thinking that, okay, I know that this book is going to sell, and you end up with the perfect partner. Or you understand what I'm saying? A lot of times people get what they want, but don't know that they have it because it wasn't in the packaging that they expected. It didn't come in the color. The bow wasn't the right size. They don't understand that when they look at the essence of what they requested, they already have it. And so they don't know that their magic, they're distracted by their magic in terms of, let me try another ritual. Let me do one more technique because I'm still waiting to blow up. I'm still waiting for my big movie deal, right? And here you are, you have the life of your dreams. And that's exactly what that would have done for you. Like sometimes people don't know that they already have what it is that they were performing magic for. Okay? And then there's one more thing I want to tell you. I think sometimes a person's magic becomes a distraction because God said no. She straight up said no. The universe said, get out of here with that. No, I'm not going to break up that couple. I'm not going to, I'm not going to do that. No. God says no. You sometimes ask for things that you don't have authority to bring about in another person's life. God said no. I know so many times I have asked God for things and God has straight up said, no, Cassandra. Like, for example, I have a video coming out about it, but I struggle with being on camera and talking to people, and I just want to, hide behind my dolls, right? And I just want to, animate my dolls. I want to, I would prefer not to be on camera. And God said no. God said no, And I said, well, God, nobody watch my videos. And, and God said, I'm watching, child. I'm here. Who else you would need to watch? And he said, don't worry about who's watching your videos. Worry about showing up for yourself, showing up for your life. And when you have proven to me that you can show up, then I'm not going to, I think he said something along the lines, I'm not going to bring people to you who are looking to be inspired when they don't know when or if they're going to see you again. Woo! I was like, woo! Okay. And you don't even want to be on camera. He said, no. So long story short, he was telling me about my own personal development. This is not about other people. This is for me. So anyway, sometimes God says no. The magic word, but God said no. Anyway, I really hope this video helps someone. Thank you so much for watching. And I look forward to seeing you, darlings, in the next video.